Okay guys, hello and welcome to my video series of the basic virtual machine understanding. So I'm going to explain it with the help of the paper I used to create the virtual machine. So let's start. What is a virtual machine? A virtual machine is a program that acts like a computer. It simulates a CPU along with a few other hardware components. Okay, what does this mean? So I think this is a good quote for understanding. A compiler solves a similar problem by compiling a standard high-level language to several CPU architectures. Okay, so basically, when you write a program in a high-level language and you want to execute this program maybe on an Intel CPU or an ARM CPU or an PPC CPU, you need to compile this program into the different assembly languages for these CPU architectures. So you need to compile your program into this special assembly language or this special assembly language or this one, depends on what device you are using. So when we are going to use a virtual machine that implements its own architecture, it's possible to run the virtual machine on every device with every different possible architecture, and you just need to compile your program uh, into the virtual machine architecture. This is something like it's used as something like a port, as it mentioned here. So here are two more examples for the virtual machine. The Java virtual machine. Um, so once the JVM is implemented on a new device, any Java, Kotlin or Clojure program ever written can run on it without modification. So that's basically what I explained before here. You run a virtual machine for a special purpose on your device, and you can execute every program that is created for for this purpose, and without doing extra modifications depending on the device you are using. And this makes a lot of things much simpler. So when we look about the Ethereum virtual machine, smart contracts are small programs which are executed by each validating node on the blockchain network. Basically, that means if you're running an Ethereum node and you are going to be part of the validating process, you need to execute the smart contracts. And the smart contracts are written by completely strangers. So, and you can't pre-control the programs before you execute them. And to prevent a contract from doing malicious things, they are run inside the virtual machine. So the virtual machine extends of some, um, you know, basic basic computer components um, that are created virtually. You use the hardware, but the programs in the virtual machine has no access to your file system, network, this is or other things. They just can use the virtual components they are created. So that's it. And now let's take a look into what kind of virtual machine are we going to create. The virtual machine, um, the differences between virtual machines for their special purposes are the instruction set architecture. That basically means which assembly instructions are possible to execute on the virtual machine, and how many instructions do we have, how many registers do we have. Okay, these are important things. And here for our learning process, we're going to implement the LC3 instruction set architecture. This is very popular for teaching university students, and it has simplified instruction set but contains all the main ideas used in modern CPUs.